Deep within the misty jungle, the air trembled with the sound of distant thunder. But this was no storm, these were the heavy footsteps of Kong, the mighty protector of the wild. The jungle bowed to his presence, trees leaned, birds scattered, and even the rivers seemed to hush when he walked. His golden eyes scanned the canopy, searching for peace in a world that never stopped testing him. He was the guardian of balance, the savior of creatures who could not fight for themselves. But that morning, something small and helpless broke the rhythm of his heartbeat, a faint, terrified cry echoing from deep within the valley. Following the sound, Kong pushed through the thick foliage, his enormous hands brushing aside ancient trees like blades of grass. There, in a clearing drenched with morning light, he saw a tiny puppy trapped between broken branches. Its fur was muddy, its body trembling, and its cries pierced even the heart of the jungle's titan. Kong knelt down slowly, his shadow swallowing the trembling creature. The puppy lifted its eyes, too weak to bark, but something in that gaze, something pure, stopped Kong in his tracks. For the first time in ages, the beast felt something gentle stir inside him, compassion. Kong carefully lifted the fragile puppy in his massive palm, his fingers curling protectively around it like a fortress. He could feel its heartbeat fluttering against his skin like a fragile drum of life. The puppy whimpered softly, and Kong rumbled a deep, soothing growl in response. He turned back toward his mountain sanctuary, knowing the jungle was no place for such innocence. Yet as he carried the small creature away, golden eyes glowed from the shadows, eyes that belonged to the king of another kind, the Lion King, ruler of the savannah edge, and predator supreme. The Lion King had seen it all, the mighty Kong, savior of the weak, protector of the small. But to him, weakness was a stain upon the wild, a flaw to be erased. He prowled forward with silent rage burning behind his majestic mane. The jungle has only one king, he thought, and mercy is not the law of nature. From that moment, the hunt began, not for food, but for dominance. The Lion King wanted to destroy not just the puppy, but what it symbolized, compassion in a world of predators. As Kong reached his mountain cave, the skies darkened. A storm began to crawl over the horizon, and thunder rolled like drums of war. The puppy, now nestled in a pile of leaves, gazed up at its gigantic savior with trust so deep it could melt the heart of any god. Kong watched over it, shielding it from the cold wind with his hand. He didn't understand why he cared so much, only that he did. Maybe he saw something of his own lost innocence in that tiny creature, something the world had beaten out of him long ago. That night, the jungle trembled again, but this time, not from Kong's steps. The Lion King arrived, his pride hidden among the shadows. Their golden eyes glowed like torches, moving silently through the rain. The jungle's balance was about to shift forever. Kong sensed it before he saw it, the way the birds fled, the way the trees whispered of danger. He turned toward the entrance of his cave, his massive chest rising with a growl that shook the earth. The puppy whimpered, pressing itself into the safety of Kong's hand. The protector was ready. The Lion King emerged from the mist, his mane glistening like fire under the lightning's flash. His roar ripped through the night, a declaration of war that sent every living thing fleeing into the dark. Kong responded with a thunderous bellow, the sound echoing off the mountains like the voice of a god. The jungle fell silent. For a heartbeat, two kings stood face to face, one driven by pride, the other by protection. The battle for the soul of the wild was about to begin. The first strike came fast. The Lion King lunged with impossible speed, claws flashing, fangs bared. Kong caught him mid-leap, the impact shaking the mountain. They crashed through trees, stones, and rivers, each blow sounding like an explosion. The puppy watched from the shadows, trembling, its small eyes reflecting the fury of titans. The jungle burned with chaos, lightning, thunder, and roars merging into a single, apocalyptic symphony. Kong swung his massive arm, sending the lion flying across the clearing. But the Lion King was no ordinary beast, he rose again, blood dripping from his fangs, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. "You protect weakness," he roared. "You are no king." Kong pounded his chest, the sound echoing like war drums through the rain. His answer needed no words. He was not fighting for power. He was fighting for life. The puppy whimpered again, its voice cutting through the chaos like a fragile melody. Kong turned his head for a brief second, and that's when the Lion King struck again, sinking his claws deep into Kong's shoulder. The pain was blinding, but it only fueled the Titan's fury. Kong roared so loud the heavens seemed to crack open. He grabbed the Lion King, slamming him into the ground with a force that sent shockwaves rippling through the jungle floor. But even as victory loomed, Kong's eyes darted back to the puppy. Protecting that small life was all that mattered. As dawn broke, blood and rain mingled on the jungle floor. The battle paused for a moment, the air thick with steam and sorrow. Kong's breathing was heavy, his muscles trembling with exhaustion. The Lion King, battered but unbroken, circled him again. The puppy, sensing the end was near, crawled toward Kong's hand, pressing its tiny head against his finger. Kong looked down, and in that instant, found his strength again. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a fight for the right to care, to protect, to love in a world that only understood violence. The jungle was silent for a heartbeat, as if the world itself waited for the next move. Kong stood tall, blood dripping from his wounds, but his eyes blazed with defiance. Across from him, the Lion King prowled with a regal, deadly calm, his mane burning like gold under the rising sun. They were both kings in their own right, one of the mountains, one of the plains, and yet, destiny had chosen only one to stand as protector. The puppy's faint whine broke through the heavy air, reminding Kong of what was truly at stake. He wasn't fighting for dominance. He was fighting for innocence. With a deep, earth-shaking roar, Kong charged again. The ground cracked beneath his steps as he slammed his fist into the soil, sending a shockwave that tossed the Lion King off balance. Kong grabbed a massive tree trunk, swinging it like a weapon, the impact sending leaves flying like green fire. The Lion King dodged, his movement swift and elegant, then leapt onto Kong's arm, clawing his way up toward the Titan's face. Kong roared in pain, his huge hand catching the lion mid-strike, throwing him across the valley. The jungle shook, and thunder answered. But the Lion King was relentless. He rose again, his body scarred yet unyielding, his pride refusing to break. He leapt onto a cliff ledge, glaring down at Kong with fury burning deep in his golden eyes. "You protect what should perish," his gaze seemed to say. "You defy nature itself." The Lion King roared, a sound so pure, so ancient, that even the sky seemed to tremble. From every direction, echoes of other predators answered, wolves, panthers, hyenas, all creatures that lived by the same ruthless law. The jungle was turning against Kong. Kong understood the message. Nature was watching. The balance was shifting. But he refused to surrender. He raised his head to the heavens and beat his chest 3 times, each strike a thunderclap of defiance. "Not today," his roar proclaimed. Lightning flashed, illuminating the puppy nestled behind a fallen tree, eyes wide and innocent. Kong charged once more, fury and compassion fusing into something unstoppable. He grabbed the cliffside, pulling himself upward toward the Lion King with a speed no beast his size should have possessed. Their collision was like a storm exploding. Kong and the Lion King tumbled down the rocky slope, each trying to overpower the other. Rocks shattered, trees splintered, and waterfalls exploded in white spray. As they crashed into the valley floor, the puppy barked, its tiny voice echoing through the chaos. It was a desperate cry, a plea for the violence to end. For a moment, both titans froze. Kong's chest heaved, and the Lion King's claws hesitated. That small sound, so fragile, carried more power than all their roars combined. But the Lion King's nature would not yield. He lunged again, sinking his teeth into Kong's arm. The pain ripped through Kong's body like fire, but this time, he didn't strike back immediately. Instead, he looked the Lion King straight in the eyes. There was no hate there, only sorrow. Kong gripped the lion, lifting him high, and growled, a sound filled not with rage, but with warning. "This ends now," his eyes seemed to say. Then he threw the Lion King away, not to kill, but to protect what truly mattered behind him. The Lion King landed hard, sliding across the mud, stunned by the mercy he'd just been shown. For the first time, he hesitated. His golden eyes flicked toward the puppy who had crawled closer to Kong's massive hand, whimpering softly. The Lion King saw something unfamiliar in that tiny creature, a kind of strength beyond claws or fangs. A power he had never understood, the power of loyalty. He growled low, torn between pride and something dangerously close to respect. Rain poured harder now, drenching the battlefield until everything gleamed like molten silver. Kong sank to one knee, his body covered in blood and rain, his breath heavy and ragged. He reached out gently, scooping the puppy into his palm. The little creature licked his finger, its tail wagging weakly. That single act, the simplest gesture of trust, broke whatever darkness lingered between the two kings. The Lion King lowered his head, stepping back into the shadows, his manner fading into the mist. He did not bow, but he did not attack again. The battle was over. Kong watched as the Lion King disappeared into the distance, his silhouette merging with the horizon. The jungle exhaled, life returning to the air like the first breath after a storm. Birds began to sing again, cautiously at first, then louder, as though celebrating peace. Kong looked at the puppy and let out a soft rumble, almost a laugh. He had fought for this fragile spark of life, and he had won, not by killing, but by protecting. As the sun broke through the clouds, painting the jungle in gold, Kong climbed to the highest peak. The puppy rested on his shoulder, gazing out over the endless green world. The wind brushed through Kong's fur, carrying with it the scent of rain and renewal. He had proven that even the mightiest could show mercy, that even a beast could choose love over power. The jungle would remember this day, not as the day two kings clashed, but as the day compassion triumphed over pride. Days passed, and the jungle began to heal. The scars left by the battle slowly vanished beneath the growing vines, as though nature itself wanted to forget the bloodshed. Yet in the heart of it all, Kong remained, silent, strong, watching over his mountain and the creatures that called it home. The puppy had become his shadow, following him wherever he went. Every morning, it would bark softly to wake him, and every night it would curl against his arm, safe beneath the giant's warmth. Kong had become more than a protector now. He had become a father. But peace in the jungle was never meant to last. One dusk, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, strange sounds echoed from the valley, metal clanging, engines roaring, and human voices shouting commands. Kong turned, nostrils flaring. He had heard that sound before. Humans. They were coming again, and this time, they were bringing weapons. The puppy barked nervously, sensing danger. Kong placed a massive finger on its tiny head as if to say, "Stay close. I'll keep you safe." Down below, an expedition team armed with tranquilizers and drones moved through the trees. They were hunting legends, tracking signals that led them straight to Kong's mountain. Their leader, a man named Dr. Harlow, was obsessed with capturing proof of Kong's existence. "This will change the world," he told his crew. "We'll show them the king of monsters." None of them realized they were walking into a sacred place, a kingdom ruled not by greed, but by loyalty and courage. Kong could have fled. He could have disappeared deeper into the wild. But when he saw the puppy whimper and hide behind him, something ancient stirred in his chest again. He had fought the Lion King to protect life, he would not let humans destroy it now. The jungle seemed to respond to his determination. The wind howled, the trees swayed, and thunder grumbled in the distance as if the earth itself was choosing sides. Kong pounded his chest once more, a roar rising from his lungs like a storm breaking free. The first drone appeared, its red lights blinking through the trees. Kong grabbed a rock the size of a boulder and hurled it skyward. The explosion shattered the stillness, sending metal fragments raining down. The humans panicked. "It's him!" "He's real," shouted one of them. Dr. Harlow stared in awe and fear as the ground trembled under Kong's approach. The puppy barked from behind a tree, as though cheering him on. For a moment, it looked almost proud of its giant friend. Then, something unexpected happened. The Lion King reappeared on the ridgeline, watching the chaos unfold. His manner shimmered under the lightning flashes, and his golden eyes fixed on Kong and the humans. He had not forgotten their battle, nor the mercy that spared him. This time, he didn't come as an enemy. He descended the slope slowly, growling, a warning to the humans. When one of the soldiers aimed a weapon at the puppy, the Lion King lunged first, taking the tranquilizer dart to the shoulder but knocking the man unconscious. The jungle had united again. Side by side, Kong and the Lion King stood at the edge of the valley, a pair of kings defending their world. The humans, terrified, fired their tranquilizers wildly, but the jungle itself fought back. Vines snapped drones from the air, trees fell to block escape routes, and thunder rolled like the wrath of nature. The puppy barked louder than ever, its tiny voice lost among the chaos, yet it seemed to echo everywhere, like the soul of the wild cheering for its guardians. When the last helicopter fled the horizon, silence returned. The rain fell softly now, washing away the smoke and dust. The Lion King stumbled, weakened from the dart, and Kong knelt beside him. Their eyes met again, no hatred this time, only mutual respect. The Lion King gave a low rumble, almost like a farewell, before turning back toward his savanna. Kong watched him go, his heart heavy but peaceful. They were rivals once, but now they were brothers of the same wild. The puppy, drenched but safe, wagged its tail and licked Kong's massive finger. Kong smiled, a deep, rumbling sound that shook the trees gently. He picked up the little creature and placed it on his shoulder. The storm cleared, and the first light of dawn broke across the horizon. The jungle glowed with gold, and every living thing seemed to sing in harmony. Kong lifted his head toward the sky and let out a roar, not of anger, but of triumph and life. World about the great battle in the jungle, the day two kings clashed, humans trembled, and a tiny puppy changed the heart of a monster. They said if you ventured deep enough into the misty mountains, you could still hear a soft bark echoing after the sound of thunder. And if you listened closely, you'd realize the bark and the roar were not separate, they were one. Because even giants need something small to remind them what makes them human. And so the jungle thrived once more, under the watch of Kong, the gentle titan, and his loyal puppy, the smallest heartbeat that ever changed the fate of kings.